All right, we're live. Good
Awesome.
morning, guys.
Awesome.
Good morning, guys.
Morning,
It,
guys.
it's quite amazing looking at the market. BTC is still at 96K. It's really, really
Yep, yep.
amazing. I hope everyone is enjoying the state of the market. As crazy as this sounds, BTC dropped yesterday night to almost 92K. Almost.
Okay.
Now,
I didn't actually notice that, man.
I dropped to almost 92K, like almost 92K. So I think for now we should have like a sign of relief because if we look at the charts, which we'll look at the chart towards the end. We did say it that last week when we we're looking at the Bitcoin chart that the very worst thing that's on the cards that will most likely happen is like BTC going down to that 92K. As I think it was 97, 96, 97 of
Yeah,
that.
of course. We talked about 90K being, if it goes down to 90K, yes,
Yeah,
we might have fulfilled
yeah,
so many dreams and all that stuff. So, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So before we focus too much on BTC charts and price action, let's look at what the market is saying in terms of news. Maybe some top news in the market. There was this rumor last week about Michael Saylor selling selling off. Like I said, there's always a negative news whenever the market is dumping. I think people just look
It's
for something
enough.
to blame. They
Yes,
just
because
want to blame something.
the shift in markets to something. It's the way it has been right from the
Yeah,
inception of trading Bitcoin and other cryptos.
yeah.
Something we take the blame for the market going bad or even pumping, right? Even if it's not the entire truth. So that's how
Yeah.
the market works. Yes.
Yeah, so I would totally agree with that. Yeah, so if we're looking at like top news here, you see this was an accusation that was coming in over the weekend. They were accusing Sailor of dumping, and I think he held an interview where he said that they've actually bought more BTC, that they've actually bought,
Mm-hmm.
and by Monday, I think he said by Monday, like this week, they would publish the extra amount of BTC that they bought and the price that they bought,
Mm-hmm.
but that they were never selling. And it's crazy how people always spread this food and make some persons dump their bag. Like it's really, really crazy. Which is why it's one of the worst things to do is to be an emotional trader. Like that's literally very, very bad. In
You
other
know this
news,
thing. This our game is a PvP game. It's a player versus player game. So
yeah,
anything to trick you to sell your bags, you get better for
yeah,
me. I'll buy it cheaper. And anything to trick you to buy when the price is pumping, better for
yeah,
me because I just sold to you. So you get
yeah.
that's the game we're playing.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. I just hope people will be wise enough to be able to realize most of these things. And some other news, you could see Bitcoin versus Zcash debate intensifies as Zcash reclaims $700 level. Now the crazy thing is, we said it last week that people should keep an eye out for privacy coins. Now, if you notice, one of the privacy coins that performed so well, like over the weekend, there was a particular privacy coin that did so well. Dash. Dash. Last week, Thursday, Friday, Dash was still at 60 something, almost $70. Yeah, GM, Jerry. Please, if you're just joining, feel free to share the link, invite anyone you want to invite. And depending on where you're joining from, if you're watching from YouTube or you're watching from Twitter, you can tweet, share the link, quote, invite anyone you want to, and drop questions, please. Drop your questions and what you like us to look into, maybe a particular chart you want us to analyze or anything, which is why it's necessary to join on time so you can drop those things and we can review them before we pass the 20 minutes time frame because ideally this is supposed to last for just 20 minutes. So GM to everyone that's watching and everyone that's listening, GM. Yeah, so as I was saying, Dash was actually below $70, I think, that Thursday or thereabout. And Dash made a move for almost $95 within
Mm-hmm.
the weekend. Yeah, and we started seeing some other privacy coins that have been actually trying to move after the Zcash made another attempt to go above $700. Yeah, so I really do hope most persons are strategically positioning for most of these solid projects, because you want to ensure that you're accumulating the solid tokens. You want to ensure that you're not just holding like a bag of tokens that once we see dumps like this, it just melts, like your bag just melts. That's one way to know how solid the project you're holding is. Because for people that are holding like Dash, Litecoin, Zcash, Ethereum, BNB, maybe Solana, and some other solid projects, despite this dump, they didn't really feel a huge change in their portfolio. Not really. You get even like some of the trades we're in, like the Uniswap trade, it's still holding. You get it's still actually holding. It hasn't like crashed to like hit the stop loss yet. It's still relatively holding its price, even if yes, it's far below our entry for people that didn't maybe move entry or stop loss rather to protect profit. For those that didn't do that, they just left it until it hits TP. The trade is still within like the range. So it's very relevant to hold solid pairs. We did mention, I can see some comments from someone, and we did mention AVAX and AR. Yeah, don't worry, you can keep dropping the questions. We will respond to all of those questions in like the next 8 minutes or 10 minutes. And we did mention some other coins. Today we'll still share some projects that people can still buy short term for swings. Yeah, we'll still share that. And what do you think? Space now, what do you
So
think from
so
your
so so
end?
when we talk about some of these token, people having a bag of say Solana BNB, and those bags not really dumping in this particular downtrend. It's true, but we should not also forget that we are retailers, right? Most of the
Mhm.
tokens that we would hold are mid cap to low cap coins, right? Even if those low cap coins are like startup coins, right? Like good projects, but they are basically
Yeah,
startups,
yeah,
like maybe the likes of Orai, the likes of Chromia and the rest, right? So there is still, it's more like you have to strike a balance between do you want to hold really solid high cap coins that you maybe highest you might make from it is like 2x or 3x over like say 6 months, 1 year, or would
yeah,
you like to have like a medium risk coin that you might probably make 5x, 10x over the same period of time, or maybe a lower cap coin, slightly higher risk that you could make maybe 50x within that same period of time. Now, you notice that most of us will tilt a larger portion of our bags towards those solid low cap coins, right? Because those are like the gems you
yeah,
get.
yeah,
So when we have like market retraces like this, we tend to suffer huge blows, right? Mostly for the investors, because the traders by now they will probably have like a stop loss. They'll say, okay, if you reach this price, I'm not that emotionally attached to this
yes,
project. Get me out, right? Meanwhile, the investors
yeah,
dig deeper. They have some form of connection to the project, and they tend to hold more. Even so much so that when market retraces happen like this, they even tend to DCA more into those projects. So sometimes that difficulty to strike that balance, right, is where most
yeah,
of us are cut out, right? It's just the truth. Because even to me, if you tell me now, maybe let's say I get a huge amount of money from nowhere, and I'm looking at this price and I'm seeing all right, I'm
yeah,
seeing some of this project, I will still more or less go and buy more right than I would go and buy more BNB, because I'll be like, if this market balances out properly, the
true,
upside, right, is more for me for like
yes,
Korai than for BNB. You get, so it's now a
yeah,
question of how much money are you now going to use to buy that Korai? Would you go and expose yourself with much more capital, or would you just put a little bit money and then just observe it? So it's a balancing of portfolio thing, and also stay relevant, because downtrends like this
Yeah.
can really push someone out of the market, can really price someone out of the market, even when you have those tokens, because you no longer have money to
Yes.
invest. So
Yes.
you just sit on the sideline and then just hope that, things get brighter, things get better so that you can get back in the game. So it's quite funny what we are playing at.
Okay, so I'm noticing some lag. I don't know if it's from StreamYard or your network or my network, but I was noticing
I
some
think
lag as you were
it's
speaking.
StreamYard, because even you yourself,
Okay, I
you
was
trip
noticing some
off.
lag. Yeah, so for those listening, if you're also experiencing those lags, please feel free to let us know because I was actually noticing the lag. Yeah, so briefly, let me share the screen just so that we look at some projects we recommended and recommend another project for like a quick swing. You can see my screen here. So that there was something
Yes.
first we recommended this iron fish to the community. We recommended it last week. So if you notice, it's been holding strong. It was at 1718 MFDV last week. It's at 20 MFDV now, and it is yet to break out. I'm expecting the breakout of this iron fish to be insane. Like once it breaks out, I'm expecting like a huge rally. So you still have time to accumulate it at cheaper prices for those that are not yet in. But sincerely, once this breaks out, I'm expecting like a very very huge rally. Now another project that personally I decided to accumulate for like a quick swing. I got in yesterday at the $120 something dollars. It's Giggle Fund. So it's sitting on support right now. Those that want to trade it on futures, you can. Well, I'm not trading it on futures actually. Probably I might briefly look at the chart for futures trading for this Giggle Fund, but I'm specifically not trading it on futures. But yeah, it's sitting on like a good price where you can be able to accumulate for like a quick swing trade of maybe 30-40%. For futures traders, they can make even much more from it. So feel free to join us on this particular trade. And then looking at the chart briefly, I want to share the chart briefly because of a particular trade that I took, which some persons might be interested in. Now, by the way, you should do your own research and decide if you want to take this trade with us or not. Well, let me just share it briefly before we look at the BTC chart towards the end. Not now, but towards the end. You can see my screen, right? You can see my screen, right? You should be able to see it
Yeah.
now. Yeah, okay. So this is Zcash. This is like a Zcash trade. This is something I took over the weekend on Zcash. This particular was over the weekend, and based on the correction that happened, so I took this trade and I exited. Now this one is just a fresh trade I took barely 20 minutes ago, thereabouts. That I just triggered. So you might want to, but you can look at the stop loss. Stop loss is at $646, and the TP is the full TP, by the way, is around $720. While one of the TP is around 690 something dollars. You get so it has triggered at 669. I'm already in very tiny profits. Yeah, but the trade has basically triggered for me. Yeah, so if you want to, you might want to jump on this trade if you're comfortable with it. So I do feel this trade will play out well, provided BTC doesn't misbehave, which we'll look at Bitcoin chart soon. We'll look at the chart to see what the chart is telling us very, very soon. And before we go to BTC chart, let's answer some questions. Let's answer some questions from the audience. So the first person is saying, what's the fate of Bitcoin? Any opportunity for bump? Okay. And once we look at the charts, we'll answer this question. So we'll get back to this question once we look at the charts. And the other person is saying, please share which between AVAX and ARO, which better coin to accumulate for. How do you mean for solidity? Okay, for short term to medium term. So, okay, personally, I feel Avalanche is very undervalued, but Avalanche still is large cap. It's over 7 billion FDV. Then at the same time, AR, on the other hand, is lower. It's a lower FDV. So I would say if you're looking at percentage returns, AR would give you faster percentage returns because it's at 4 point something. It can easily spring to 7, 7.5. Whereas AVAX, on the other hand, cannot easily spring to 30. If AR moves from 4 point something to 7 point something, that's almost 70% profit. If AVAX, on the other hand, for it to give you 70% profit, it needs to move from like 15 point something where it is at to almost $25, which might not be that easy, especially when you consider the fact that it's a large cap. So for me, I would say an AR short to medium term. Someone is asking them, what about Joe? And you mean Trader Joe? So Trader Joe price action is tied to the Avalanche price action. So if Avalanche starts pumping, Trader Joe Q, they'll pump really, really well. If someone is asking for privacy coin, I'm trying to focus on Ironfish and AVG. Is it SVG you're talking of or AVG? I'm confused on which one is AVG. I know SVG, that's Veg, but AVG, I'm confused. I think Ironfish is very good. If you're referring to Veg is also good. Is Asta a good project to invest? Depends on how long term you're looking at Asta. Personally, Asta is very good for trading futures. Like it's really, really good. It has very predictable price range. Like really, really. I don't think we've said this before here, but Asta is very good for futures trading because of it has very predictable range that it obeys the supports and resistance points. It respects them a whole lot. It's only on rare occasions that probably it might be manipulated and hit your stop loss or something like that. But most times you're certain of making profit. Just like Zcash, it's rare for the Zcash trade to go against you unless the trade is a very aggressive trade or you're trading at a very low time frame. So, like for example, the one I took this morning, that's on a 1 hour time frame. But the one I took on Saturday was more of like a 4 hour time frame. You understand? So the 4 hour time frame trades, it's quite difficult for it to fail. Unlike when you're trading 15 minutes or 1 hour time frame and all of those things. So Zcash very good for futures trading. We've said that one before. Asta very good also too for futures trading. First time we're seeing that. So if you're talking about buying Asta for spot, personally I wouldn't go buying Asta for spot because the chances of it pumping real good might be really slim. Short term, by the way, not long term. But if you're trading it futures, it's very good. Okay, so this guy says SVG. Yeah, Verge is actually good. Although it's a very old project. I have not checked how much development is ongoing, Verge. But yeah, Verge is very good and Verge is very undervalued. I think it's still below $300 million FTV. Okay, so before you build your maximum conviction to accumulate so much of it, you might want to check the community, the products, the updates that they've been doing. Are they still actively building? So it won't be that they are just benefiting from the hype of privacy coins. Yeah, you want to be sure of that because most times, once a particular trend is very strong, even some projects that are not even building anything, they also benefit from it just because of their existing. So you also
Yeah,
want to
people
be
would want to rotate, yes.
yes, yes. So you also want to be careful so you don't go start accumulating a particular project. Like the Ironfish is still under the radar. Most persons haven't even noticed about Ironfish. They're still building. And we know how big Sui or Sui, we know how big it is. Imagine if Solana announces like a partnership too with Ironfish, because what Ironfish does is they enable blockchain that don't have privacy features to like actually have privacy features. So Ironfish can even choose to extend that feature to Arbitrum, Optimism, Aptos, probably even Solana. They can choose to like extend those features. So an Ironfish is still at 20 MFDV. So, and they're already doing that on Base. The CEO of Base has actually confirmed it. So imagine when they now start dropping the information of they have actually been able to implement it. You can now have or make those private transactions on Sui or or Base or maybe some other chain, it's going to explode. Also, if you notice, most exchanges have never started listing Ironfish. Now, by the way, we are not saying this because of Ironfish contacted us or anything. No, we're just giving you undervalued projects that we are also invested in and based on our own research that we have done. So you can feel free to confirm most of all the stuffs we're seeing. So at the same time, most exchanges also haven't listed Ironfish, which if you understand how this listing works, most times the exchange needs to go and buy the token before they can list it because they wouldn't go and be paying the exchange. In most cases, projects that have something solid that they are building, they won't go and be paying for listing. Now, that process of the exchanges buying to have enough for liquidity before they list, that process also tends to make some of these projects to pump. So Ironfish at barely 20 MFDV, not listed on so many exchanges. It's just, I think, MXC, Gate.io, I think one other exchange. Imagine when it starts finding its way to other solid exchanges too. The buys would obviously pump the price above 100M. Like obviously to pump it above 100M. So do your own research and decide if you want to get in or not. Last week it was 17M, 17, 18 when we're talking about it. Yeah, so someone is asking if you can look into WikiCats. I think Dev is really building. We spoke about WikiCats. I told you guys that as long as you're getting in below 60M, I think then it was 45 or 48, something like that. Even below, it was below 40. I think it got to 30 something at the point. If you're getting in below that price, you're good. Yesterday, I saw WikiCat had pumped 60%, which was really, really good. Did over 60% pump yesterday. So most of these projects, as long as they are still actively building, communicating, they are still keeping hopes alive. The whole advantage of this BTC dump is so that you can buy them at cheaper prices, which is a strategy we have shared with you guys before. So if you look at some other coins, I wanted to share my screen, but there's no need for that. If you look at some other coins, you'll find out that some other coins like Zora pump dumped. You get it actually dumped because of this whole stuff happening in the market, and it dumped a few days ago to 1 point something. After which pumped to about 3 point something, which I took advantage of that. I made almost 80%. So you want to have these solid projects in your radar. Eval, for example, I've been waiting for Eval to dump below 1M. It has refused to because where I'm interested in jumping in is below 1M, but it has refused to, and I've just still been watching it. Gigo, that I mentioned today, I've been waiting for Gigo to dump to like that $120 range. I think we said it last week, I guess so. I've been waiting for it, but it's been above 160, 170 for so long. But I kept waiting. I did not FOMO. So BTC forcing the market yesterday down when it dropped to 92,600 or so. That was an opportunity for me to rush to other projects that I wanted to buy at discounted prices and start accumulating them. So we're past the 20 minutes mark. We still have a question here, but let's just look at the Bitcoin charts. Let's briefly look at BTC charts. Let's look at BTC charts briefly then before we round up. So I'm sharing my screen now. Let's see what to expect from Bitcoin. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's not live yet.
It should be live
it's
now.
Coming up. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so the last time I traded BTC was this trade here. That was the last time. Since then, I've not really traded it much again. Yeah, so this was like the last time I did that. So now if we notice something on the Bitcoin chart, the last week I don't know if this was the chart I analyzed last week. I feel like this wasn't it. I feel it was a different chart, but still Bitcoin chart. Now, if we notice last week, let's briefly, just to show you guys what we're talking about here. So last week, this was what we were saying. Last week, we said it that this was the worst place we would expect BTC to dump to, this range. This was the range we said we expected BTC to dump to, which if you check, it actually got down to that range, 92K range. Now, if it goes below this, if it dares to go below this point, then where we would most likely be expecting BTC would be to come fill this gap, the gap that we have here, which is BTC dumping to as low as 86K. That's where we'll be expecting to as low as 86K. But why see this zone failing? Even if it fails, I'm not expecting it to fail immediately. I'm expecting it to like play around here, allow odds to at least pump before it continues going down, if at all it's going to keep going down. I'm expecting it to give odds at least a fighting chance to reprice. But if it doesn't and it crashes below that level, it's going to be bad for most altcoins, sincerely. It's going to be very, very bad for most altcoins. Now, what we have noticed for BTC, the same thing that has been happening for a while now, is since we're on a downward trend. It's just areas to short. That's what has been happening because we've been on a downward trend. So anyone that is looking to trade BTC, you should just be looking for the next zone to short from. Which, if I were to be looking to trade this BTC chart, I'll be looking to short from somewhere around here, around somewhere around here. That's what I'm looking to short from. So if it's to 96,600, somewhere around there, basically, I'll be looking to short from. Basically, somewhere around here. That's where I'll be looking to short from. If I was looking to trade this whole BTC chart. I'm most likely be looking to take profit around 94K or thereabouts. So I'll be expecting BTC to come up to like this zone. That's where I'll be looking to like take the trade. Then my stop loss will be obviously above all of this liquidity. That's where my stop loss will be above. That's 97,900. Yeah. Now, most times for most persons, they might be very tempted to like start jumping into the trade from here. But for someone like me, it's better I miss that entry than for me to emotionally jump into that particular trade. Yeah, so if you're interested in taking this trade, if I'm to trade BTC, this is like basically what I'll trade. But I don't think I'll trade it because I'm still on the sideline observing the market. So I don't really think I'll trade in BTC. Instead, I would pay attention to some other trades. I'm already in this Zcash trade. Most times, I don't like jumping into too many trades. Most times, I'm already in this Zcash trade, so I'm still like watching the trade to see how it's going to pan out. Any questions? Briefly on this Uniswap trade. Okay, sorry, this was a trade I took yesterday night, in Uniswap. Yesterday night was when I took this trade. Now, you guys know this was our previous trade on Uniswap that we dropped last week. This was our previous trade on Uniswap that we dropped last week. This trade, this is the trade we got. We got in somewhere here. It went up, hit TP1, got back to entry, tried going up again, then it kept going down. So I just had to create this trend line. And last night, when I was doing the analysis, created this trend line. This previous trade hasn't hit our stop loss for those that are presumably still in the trade and didn't adjust profit or anything. Adjust stop loss rather anything that are still in this trade. The trade hasn't hit our SL. But however, I had to come up with a brief analysis on the trade, and I took this trade yesterday. Still the Uniswap trade. I had to jump in yesterday. So you can see how it played out. This morning was when it hit TP. This particular trade, it hit TP this morning. Yeah. So any questions, please? Now, this is like something I usually say about trades. See when this trade triggered and I got in. See how high it went and it returned back before going to hit TP. Now, for most traders or for some traders, they would have exited maybe somewhere around here via adjusting their stop loss, or maybe somewhere around here. They would have most likely exited from there. Some would have gotten back here. Some would have just avoided the trade afterwards. Some wouldn't have exited. They would have left it to ensure it hits their TP. So it all depends on how you manage your trade. There is no best way to actually tell anyone to manage their trade. I think that's based on individual experiences and how much time you have. Personally, for me, I wasn't awake when I think I was busy basically when all of this whole up and down stuff was happening. So I did not even adjust anything. I just took it and I left it. I wasn't tracking it back to back. Yeah, so any questions before we round up? Any questions? Any questions? Do you have anything you want to share? Some stuff you want to tell those watching or listening?
Well, just since we're rounding up, for those that are still wondering if Sora is a good buy, because Sora is, we've seen Sora always perform 50%, 70% within like a very short period of time. So Sora is also very good with swings. So we might want to pay attention to that particular token. We saw Supra. We've talked about Supra, I think, when we started the podcast. The
Yeah, I
first week
think
we
so.
started the podcast about Supra. So last week Supra pumped crazy. So now it has also retraced again. So for those that want to get into it. So yeah, that's it. So let's see this week. We've seen 92K. In my book, I will say we've seen almost the worst. So hopefully we might begin to move forward in terms of maybe have an alt season. So yeah, that's it basically from me.
Yeah, so Kelvin in WC is asking of airdrop, please. So we would invite some speakers and that would come share some airdrops that they are farming and they are very much involved in. We invite people that are more into airdrop because for someone like me, I just do it passively. I'm not into airdrop. It's passively. But we would invite some persons that are like very big on airdrops that know all the crazy hidden airdrops that have like a high tendency to like pay something really good. Would invite them to like come share those ideas with the speaker. So we'll communicate the dates. We're looking at maybe it might happen maybe later this week or latest next week. Latest next week. So be on the lookout for that. Invite other persons. Very, very important. So we'll drop the information at least a day to that day so that most persons will be revved, ready, and prepared for that. So, the absence of any further questions, we've gone past the 20 minutes mark. I think today we've done over 33 minutes. See you guys tomorrow, same time. And don't forget to join early so that you can bring your questions and we can address them on time. Also, if there's any project you want us to look into or look at the chats, very, very important. All right, guys. Bye for now.
All right, guys. Bye.